G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today I want to talk about the Thomas Parrott Black Library firing. Is it a scandal? Is it a shitstorm? Well, it happened on Twitter. Is that a twitstorm or a twit show? Not exactly sure, but in any case, it's not good. So obviously the reason I spoke to Arch Warhammer the other week was because I felt that trying to deplatform or trademark dispute someone out of existence is a pretty dodgy thing to do for a company. Well, true to my word, I believe in that for everyone. And this guy here has turned around, said some things, and because he said them on the internet, pissed off an investor, he got given the boot. Because Games Workshop, like I said the other day, they care about investors and money more than they care about political statements or right and wrong morally. And hey, that's every company ever, let's be honest. But let's read through it, and then I'll give my actual thoughts on the matter, and some hopefully helpful advice to people. So, Black Library has decided to terminate their association with Thomas Parrott on the grounds that he is a poor representative of their brand. This is obviously devastating for him for a lot of reasons. He doesn't consider it a fair decision on their part, but fair rarely matters in life. He goes on to say, the issue arose a month ago. A member of the Twitter community made a joke about gay space marines and got death threats for it. I was furious and made statements to that effect. These were reported to the company by an investor and customer, and I was called to task. I told them a month ago that I would separate my political talk from discussion of the IP. I felt guilty for that much compromise in the face of such toxicity that people get death threats. But I've made every effort to bend and keep my word. Evidently that wasn't enough. At any rate, I'm in a bad place on a lot of levels. My wife has had to withdraw from nursing due to PTSD. I was the last money coming into our family, and I genuinely don't know what I'll do now. I am so grateful to every one of you who showed me support of any kind. I always dreamed of sharing creations and people enjoying them. Thank you for letting me live with that for a little while. The statements included things like there being a fascist element of the fanbase and that I considered that a serious problem that had to be confronted. I also made law-related statements the mystery individual took issue with, like I considered Space Marines eunuchs. There was also a really transparent attempt to pin the May leaks on me a few days ago, presumably so they'd have a better justification for this. As it is, I can say with absolute certainty that I leaked nothing. Their evidence was that I accessed a document. Accessed it, mind you, while editing a novella based on information in that document. They may still publish things with my name on them. If it's a multi-author work, please still purchase it. So many of the people who work for and with them are so good people. If it's just my name, I encourage you not to buy it. I have no urge to make them money. One last thing, there's a lot of people reaching out. I don't think there's any salvaging this for me, especially after my honesty here. I don't want it to happen to another author, though. I'm sorry if I don't reply directly, I'm pretty broken and my spoon drawer is empty. He used foul language. Yeah, I said fashy as fuck, and I used flipping the bird emoji. He made a death threat too. No, I said the fash element in the fanbase is like mold in the pool. You gotta stop the party till you clean it up. He said a homophobic slur. I said I would never gay bait about the content of my work. I have apologised for using the word. Not really mine to use. He's mentally unstable. Well, being diplomatic and not wanting to burn bridges, blah blah blah. So, as far as I can tell, Kurioth made a joke about gay Ultramarines. Yeah, it's a good laugh. People have then had a go at Kurioth about it, and then this author has come in and defended Kurioth, and then the author has run himself afoul with the mob. When he says he's mentally unstable, well, guilty. I have a mental illness, and I'm pretty open about my struggles with it, but I do my damnedest to never let it interfere with my work or colour professional interactions. We'll see, I'm just very tired and sad. The anger has burned out already. I really did try to create a community that, yes, would buy my work, but also that would feel safe for people and fun and welcoming. Heartbroken to watch all that energy and effort amount to nothing. Warily aware / utterly terrified that I've made myself an annoying little insect for the company. You don't apologise to a gnat, you squish it. already seeing well, obviously there's more to this than he's saying. He must have been a douche behind closed doors. I was utterly honest, though writing it, shaking and crying. If they responded at all, it'll be spin to make me look bad. Don't know what form that will take. And then Kurioth himself says he'll be logging off Twitter for a while. Pretty sure that's Eddie Bridges burned at this point, but it feels like I helped get someone fired by being attacked, and I can't fucking handle that. The idea that Thomas had his contract terminated in no small part because he stood up for me when I was getting literal death threats makes me feel sick. And he says, lastly, there might well be residual royalties for his works if they sold well enough. It was never that likely, but really all he ever wanted was to make writing a career, and that's well torpedoed, he's sure. So, a bit to take in there. What do I think of it all? Well, this is the big question. So first off, I have multiple viewpoints on it, and you're going to have to listen to them all if you want the full picture. You can't just listen to the first sentence and then grab the torches and pitchforks. I mean, you can, but I look after myself. Tougher people have tried to kill me. So first things first. If you work for a company, an unfortunate matter of life in these days is that if you're associated with them and it says you're associated with them, whatever you write or say finds its way back to them in some way, then for some reason you're tarring the name of that company. This is cancel culture in a nutshell, and I despise it. Because who can honestly say they never said a bad thing or had a bad thought at some point in their life? I mean, I do it all the time. I say horrible things all the time, but so do all my friends. That's just the way we communicate. Black humor is a very strong aspect of our culture. Really, really nasty things. And the people we're closest to seem to be the people we're nastiest to. If those things weren't public, I'd probably get in a lot of shit. And all my friends would get in a lot of shit. And you know what? I think most people get in a lot of shit if everything you said behind closed doors got out. So yes, whilst representing a company, you shouldn't go around swearing and things like that. But here's the big thing. Who really cares? What people have to learn is that they have to learn to stop associating the individual with the company. Yes, they may work for a company, but an individual's views do not necessarily represent the company's views. And in this case, the company's views about diversity, yada yada yada, all lives matter, Warhammer is for everyone, you will not be missed. Yeah, well, turns out they don't really want to live by those standards they set for themselves. Now, where did this author go wrong? Well, for a start, openly associated with the company on his bio and discussing political stuff to a very minor degree. The next thing that went wrong was getting involved with the player base and calling them names. Now, I think fascist is so loosely thrown around, and I've seen it on that many videos lately, saying there's fascists in the Warhammer community. Look, if you use a term like that all the time, I think it loses a little bit of the strength behind the meaning. If you just arbitrarily throw something around like that. Like, if you just go around and call everyone you see a shitlord, then when you call someone a shitlord, it doesn't mean anything. But if you walk around and you call everyone a shitlord and then you single out someone and say, hey, you're a cunt, that means something now, because it's out of the ordinary. And unfortunately, fascism is a word that's getting thrown around an awful lot in this hobby lately. And I don't think it's true. I definitely think there are people with some very, very strong conflicting ideas. Who's right or wrong? Well, unfortunately, the moral scale of right and wrong is constantly moving. What you think is right in this day and age, your ancestors in 100 years' time might think you were a racist, homophobe, a transphobe, whatever phobe-ism, whatever they can come up with, if they judge you by the moral standards of their century. So it's not a wise idea to go around doing it now. Do what you think is right, yes, but be careful how far you want to stretch that line. You can't try and force people to do what you think is right. Now, all that said, is it the worst thing in the world what he's done? No, not at all. There is nothing wrong for sticking up for a person who's being threatened. Now, you have to say, do you take those threats at face value? I wouldn't. I'm not afraid of what people say to me on the internet. Neither is Cat. Especially, don't go fucking with Cat. He'll kill you. It's just that simple. He will kill you. You need to exercise a bit of restraint, though, as an author. As a representative of the company, is what I'm getting at. You need to turn around to the fan base and say, hey, that's inappropriate language I think you're using there. Maybe that didn't need to be said. And I'm not talking about, like, the gay jokes. Who cares if you make a gay joke? I'll give you an instance. I have a friend who's gay, and back when we were younger and we'd play a lot of computer games together, we'd have LAN parties. And when one of us would leave the room, you go up and type on their computer, haha, I like to fuck dudes, haha, as a way of making a gay joke. With him, we go up to his computer and we type in, haha, I love to fuck chicks. Because we weren't trying to be rude because he was gay. We were just trying to say the opposite of what he was into in order to tease him, because that's what friends do to each other. Okay? So someone turning around the internet and making a joke and saying, oh, this Space Marine is gay, or this Space Marine is whatever, it's not meant to disparage that community. It's meant to just make fun of that particular thing. South Park did an excellent episode on it with the word FAG. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube without getting the channel pulled, so I'll just say the letters. South Park did a massive episode on it where they talk about, like, traditional meanings of it and basically how it's just used as an insult or a slur. And that's how a lot of these things work. So you don't need to go in there all guns blazing and say, hey, he made a gay joke, let's attack him. And conversely, you don't then need to get your fur up and attack back at them and bite back at them saying, yeah, well, what are you doing giving death threats, you fascist? Because you're creating conflict. You're not de-escalating the situation. You're making it worse. Okay? On the video I did with Arch Warhammer, I had a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, I can't believe you're doing Arch, he's a fascist, oh my god. There's one guy who constantly, nearly every comment, would write his own comment and say, typical out of circle, he's goose-stepping, he's this, that, and the other, right? I didn't go in there and say, hey man, I'm not a Nazi, man, you're the Nazi. Like, it doesn't do anything. Instead, I just reiterated the point to him that was, hey, this is cancel culture coming for a person and wrongfully trying to pursue a trademark claim here, or going about it the wrong way, more precisely. And I think everyone deserves the right to defend themselves. And that was the talking point I stuck to. And because I stuck to it, I didn't really get any fallout as such off that video, because people sort of went, yeah, okay. Instead of it going up to the next level where I go, I'm not a Nazi, you're a Nazi, and it turns into a slagging match, the opposite happened. That's what should have happened here. Unfortunately, Thomas ran his mouth a little bit, and I'm not saying he was wrong to do it either. Okay? How he handled it compared to how I handle it, if I was in the same position as him, two different things. Because it's not just that he's representing the company, but he's dealing with people who want to purchase from his company. So, if I was still working in the steel industry, for instance, and I started slagging off people who buy bulk steel from the steel industry, that would be bad for my bottom line. But if I was in the steel industry and slagging off people that buy, romance novels, then there's that 3 degrees of separation. The company's not going to frown on it anywhere near as much and go, oh geez, the romance novel crowd, better not lose those, that'll really harm our steel sales, Now, then we get Games Workshop's overreaction to the situation, which is losing him. Really, what the company should have done is, if it was such an issue, is a warning system. Okay? 1, 2, 3, you're out. That's simple, right? Within a respectable time frame, not 1, 2, 3 over 15 years. 1, 2, 3 in a couple of years or something, okay? Like a probationary period almost. They should have said to him, hey, look, we understand what you were doing. You were trying to stick up for a member of the community. That's great. However, maybe you need to tone down the language a bit because you are technically representing the company. And I guarantee you this guy would have gone, yep, that's fair. That's a fair call. In fact, he says something similar to that, hey, I try to tone down my political messages. And then we got poor John Kirioth. And it's like, mate, this is not your fault. You were just a person in a comment thread. If it hadn't been you, it could have been anyone else. Okay, that's the way little hate mobs work. Now, whether or not the people saying these things were right or wrong, I don't care at the end of the day. Like, try and be respectable to each other, because it is a community for everyone. Understand what if offence is intended, okay, is very different to offence just being taken because you decide it offends you. Because it's very hard for a person to go out and deliberately try and cause offence to you. And I think this whole situation has blown up because people just didn't take a second to put their cool hats on and say, alright, how do I de-escalate the situation? The author fucked up. Kirioth didn't fuck up, in my opinion here. The people attacking Kirioth fucked up because of how they went about attacking him. Right? If they had a problem with what he said, they could have just said, hey man, I don't agree with that language, and left it at that, and it would have been up to him to choose what to do. When the author then came after them, it just started ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, and then people have obviously gone to the company, and the company's gone, well, fuck, burn it all to the ground as far as they care. They don't want the bad PR, especially coming up to the release of a new edition of the game. And that's really sad, because it is not the sort of offence you should be firing someone over, especially in this economic climate. And I feel bad for everyone involved, except for the company, who really, really made the wrong decision here. As for Thomas, unfortunately, this is the way things go. But consider this. You wanted to create a community for yourself. You still have that opportunity. Okay? You can go out there, and you're not known as the salty guy like I am. You can go out and build yourself that community still. You may not be working for Black Library, but you can say, former Black Library author Thomas Parrott, this is my Facebook page, this is my Discord, and you can get together a set of like-minded people who maybe you have a little writing circle. People can all submit their stories to one another, and you just make your own fan art or fan stories, or maybe come up with your own science fiction universe. All of that is still possible. Will it pay the bills? No. But if it's something you're passionate about, it's something you could do anyway. I run this channel because I'm passionate about the hobby and I want to see it moving in a positive direction. Not because I make money off this channel. I make, it turns out, less, about half as much as Turnip28 guys do, running Napoleonic miniatures, doing inquisitorial stuff. It's crazy. So, at the end of the day, if it makes you feel good and you're positive about it, stick with it. You don't need to write for the company to make fan fiction and stuff like that. And John, again, don't feel bad, Kirioth. It is what it is, mate. If it hadn't been you, someone else would have said a slur that someone else disagreed with, and the hate mob would have been on that. Okay? You didn't get this guy fired. A poor marketing spin HR section at Games Workshop are the ones who chose to do the deed out of all the possible avenues they had. Anyway, this is a depressing little video, but hopefully we are working on the tier system, Kat and I. We are not very far into it. We've only just started putting together the spreadsheet. But we're doing a tier system, as I mentioned last video, to talk about the different units in Heresy and what we think is sort of fluffiest and most fun to play against. And yeah, it'll be fun. Anyway, back with our circle. Remember, guys, be kind to each other, because you will be missed. The hobby is richer for having more people in it. There are people who are toxic. Fuck, I guess I'm toxic at times. I've been told it enough. And there are some people who do need to leave the community, but these guys are not it, okay? Thomas Parrott, Kirioth, they're not it. They're not the guys who need to leave the community. Yeah. It's for everyone. Let's treat it as such. Be good to each other. See you all next time.